Hey everyone, and welcome back. Get ready, because today we are diving into something pretty fascinating. It's called collective narcissism. We're looking at some new research that says this goes way beyond your average group pride, and honestly, it can get a little creepy.
Yeah, it's true. It's a lot more than just loving your country or being obsessed with like a certain band.
Hmm.
Collective narcissism takes that group love to a whole other level. Like it's this belief that your group is exceptional but totally misunderstood, like no one gets it.
Okay, so it's not just we're the best, it's we're the best, and nobody recognizes it.
Right. So, what's the big deal with needing all that validation? Like why does it cross the line there?
That is such a good question. And what I find really interesting is that oftentimes this need for validation comes from a place of insecurity. It's like if your own self-worth is a little shaky, you might end up clinging on to a group's, like their perceived greatness to try to boost your own ego. But here's the thing, it's a super fragile boost because it needs this constant approval from everyone else. So instead of really celebrating everything the group has done, it's more about what using it to feel like you're better than everyone else.
Yeah.
So deep down, are they like worried their group isn't actually that special?
Yeah, exactly. And that's where it can become a problem because that insecurity, when you mix it with feeling like you're entitled to something, it can make you, well, hypersensitive to any threat or criticism at all towards your group.
Okay, so they don't just say, hey, not everybody's going to love our group. It's more like they go immediately on the defensive. Do you have any like real world examples of this from the research?
Oh, yeah, there's one that comes to mind about how this collective narcissism is what really fueled a lot of the prejudice against immigrants back during that whole Brexit campaign.
Yes, so.
Well, the idea was that immigrants were dangerous to, British identity, but not for any, like, real reason, but because in their minds, immigrants challenged this deeply held belief that British culture was exceptional.
So wait, are you saying they were basically like, you won't recognize how great we are? Well, you must be the enemy. That's crazy.
Yeah, and it's a perfect example of how this hypersensitivity from, like we were saying, insecurity can lead to prejudice and even discrimination. Instead of being open to different experiences and perspectives, people with this collective narcissism tend to double down on what they already believe, even when there's evidence that says otherwise.
So it's almost like, are we saying that this group mindset, that it's not just about being resistant to what other people think, it's that they're even creating their own reality to like protect this idea that they're so special? And is that where like conspiracy theories come into play?
You're totally right because the research, it actually links collective narcissism and conspiracy theories. They say there's a direct connection.
Well, yeah, it kind of makes sense if you think about it.
Right.
If you're totally convinced that your group is exceptional, but no one appreciates you, it's not a far jump to thinking, well, there must be a reason why. Like, someone's out to get us.
Exactly. It's this way to explain why they aren't getting recognition or why they aren't as successful as they think they should be. So instead of being a little introspective, and thinking, well, maybe we need to work on some things, it's way easier to just blame like this shadowy them for holding them back.
And they give some specific examples of this, right? Of this link with the conspiracy theories in the research, I mean.
For sure, yeah. Like one of the things they found was that in Poland, people who scored really high on these like collective narcissism, like the scales they use, they were way more likely to believe in these conspiracy theories about Russia and Germany.
What kind of conspiracy
Well,
theories?
like those countries were trying to undermine Poland and their interests.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So is it kind of like a self-fulfilling prophecy? You start off by believing that the whole world is against you, so then you just like see everything through that lens, and then that just makes you more suspicious and more isolated, and then it just keeps going.
It is. It's this dangerous cycle, and it really highlights something so important, and that is that even though we're talking about these groups, and like group behavior, the root of this whole thing a lot of times is personal insecurity. It's people looking for validation from other people, right? They want to feel like they belong, and sometimes they do it in a way that really hurts themselves and it hurts other people too.
Man, this has been a lot so far, to be honest.
Mhm.
Like we're talking about prejudice and being hostile and conspiracy theories. So is there any hope? Like, can we do anything to, I don't know, break down these walls of collective narcissism?
Oh, but that's the good news.
Yeah.
There is. The research actually has some things that we can do, some solutions,
Mhm.
and it starts by focusing on individual well being. So they say that it's really important to build genuine self esteem.
But not the kind that comes from thinking that your group is better than everyone else's,
Yeah.
right?
No. It's about building a sense of self-worth that comes from, personal growth, your own achievements, your relationships with other people, and making those relationships really strong and healthy. So when your whole identity isn't only about the group that you're part of, you're not going to feel as threatened by people who are different than you or who have different opinions than you.
So basically, like, the more secure you are with yourself, the less you need to put other people down to make yourself feel better.
Yeah, that's it. And that brings me to the next thing, which is emotional resilience.
Okay, what does that even mean in this context? Like, how do you toughen yourself up against this kind of group think?
Well, it's about learning to have healthy ways to deal with challenges and criticism without always getting defensive or, resorting to being aggressive. Like, it's being able to tell the difference between when someone's actually giving you constructive criticism and when it's a personal attack.
Which is honestly really hard to do, especially when you feel like this is my group, this is who I am. But it sounds like the key is to, what, learn how to separate how you see yourself from how, like, the group's reputation is doing.
Yes, that's exactly it. It's about realizing that, you can still be really proud to be a part of your group without them being perfect or everyone in the world loving them. And it's about being strong enough to say, okay, so my group has flaws without feeling like you're betraying, who you are.
So how do we actually do that? Like, how do we even begin to build that kind of resilience for ourselves, but also for, like, the people we're close to, you know?
Yeah.
Because it almost sounds like it's not just about finding the right group and joining it. It's about completely changing how we think about groups in general.
That's a really good point. And the research, they talk about how one way to do this and to really focus on making the relationships inside the groups stronger, healthier.
So it's more about creating a space where it's okay to disagree, but respectfully and to learn from each other than it is about everyone always agreeing on everything.
It's not like an echo chamber or anything, right?
Exactly. It's more like you're trying to cultivate that feeling where everyone feels like they belong, like they're part of something. But not by taking away empathy or understanding for people outside of that group. You can celebrate what makes your group great while still acknowledging that other groups have their own great things about them too, right? Like their good things don't take away from yours.
Right, right. It's like we're moving away from that us versus them thing, which is at the heart of, like, almost every conflict.
Yeah.
We see it with our families internationally, like, it's everywhere.
Absolutely. And I think it starts by recognizing that we're all part of something so much bigger than us, right? And real strength, like if we want to talk about being strong, it comes from collaborating and understanding each other. Not by all this division and distrust. We have to be willing to challenge our own biases and to accept that maybe, just maybe, our group, even though it's important to us, it doesn't have all the answers. Maybe we aren't always right.
It's almost like we have to be, like, humble enough to say, you know what, I don't know everything, and maybe I'm part of the problem here.
Yes. And brave enough to actually learn and grow from that.
So for everyone listening, maybe this is something to think about. Think about all the groups you're part of. Your family, your friends, your community, even your country, right?
Yeah.
Do you see any signs of this collective narcissism happening? And more importantly, what can you do personally to, like, help create a sense of belonging in those groups that's more inclusive, one that has more empathy?
Yeah.
Not just in your groups, but out in the world too.
That is the question, isn't it? And it's definitely a conversation worth having.
For sure. We're all in this together. Let's all
Yeah.
try to build each other up, and you know what? Let's stop tearing each other down.
Uh,
Well, that's it for today's deep dive on collective narcissism. Make sure to like, comment, follow. We will see you next time.